Hello. So we're doing a seminar on Thursday night for starting friction fire at Ocean State Harley-Davidson. And usually when we do these primitive, series classes, we do a little bit of a video, just so people have something to take home and look at afterwards. So today or this week we're doing friction fire, and should be fun. It's one of my favorite topics, and we're going to spend a little time this morning just getting some of the parts and pieces together for class, and hopefully some of the stuff I can't show you on Thursday night, I'll be able to show you today. I feel like white pine is the wood to learn on, and there's a couple reasons for that. Number one is just it's the most common, and I also think it's the easiest. It's the easiest to get white pine from a state of tree to the actual implement you're going to use to start the fire. So white pines drop pine cones every so many years. They'll have a year like we had this year where they'll just drop an insane amount of pine cones, and they're called mass years. And next year or a couple years from now, if you look across the forest floor in here, it'll be blanketed with baby trees that were the product of this year. And that's why if you look around, like all these dead trees in here, they're all just about the same age. They all grew up to be, I don't know, 10, 12, 13 years old, and they weren't making it on their tight energy budget. You want to make sure you get some trees that are not too far gone. That's why standing dead wood is usually your best. The fact that these have been laying horizontal, they've been rained on, snowed on, more moisture is probably soaked into this wood than anything that's standing up. Here's bark on, and I like bark on because a couple of things. It's kind of waterproof the inside of the wood, so there's not, rain and stuff isn't soaking into the wood. Right next to it, you can see this piece is a little older, and the bark is kind of starting to separate, allowing moisture to kind of get into the wood that's on the inside. Now remember, you're looking for two different pieces. So you're looking for one piece that's approximately, an inch and a half thick, and then your spindle coming from the top of the tree, which you really only want to be about the diameter of your thumb. So what often happens on these trees is the thicker wood will last a little longer. So you'll grab one single tree and you'll be like, wow, this is a perfect fireboard. Then you go up to the top of it, and you'll start assessing it for your spindle, and you may find that the top of the tree is just too wet or too rotten to actually make a decent spindle. So sometimes you're talking about harvesting two different trees. You got to look close because like this tree here looks dead, but then all the way up at the top you can see it's just got a couple little tufts of green. Now this one is obviously dead. You can see the bark is like flopping right off of it. We're looking for something just a little bit fresher than this. Let's see if I can isolate this in the camera. So this tree right here, if you follow it up, right up in here, there's like almost 3 sections that look like they'd be good spindle wood. Now the next one is this one that's kind of going up at an angle over here. And it's got what looks like probably 1 section of good spindle wood in it. And then this one, oh, and I didn't even see that one back there, might have some opportunity too, but this one that's pretty tall right here. So remember, your spindle is the part that's going to spin around, So if you have a piece of wood that's not straight like this one, as it spins around, it's going to be really lumpy. So this is a nice gob of pitch right here. This is perfect. You don't want pitch that's going to run down your spindle while you're using it and infect your friction side with its pitchiness. So yeah, this is a nice find. So here's why cedar bark is so good. See this, almost looks like a fibrous. Basically, the more surface area with tinder, the better. See how fuzzy? It's almost like a furry. I've seen people weave jackets and stuff out of cedar bark. More good tinder material in this inner bark. This is inner bark of a hickory, and you can kind of see there's all kinds of little fibery stuff in there. That's what you're looking for. So basically this is what we're making. We're making a fireboard. You can see both of these have been used. This one's been used all the way from one end to the other. And the other part we're going to make is the spindle. Now don't look at this as an example. This is the first spindle I ever made, so I saved it. And then the other part is a handhold. So I have two here. I have one that's made of stone, which I really like. And then I have another one that basically, this is a piece of hardwood that's been split and had a hole drilled in it. Really quick, I'll just talk about the bow. This I think is a perfect bow. It's got a little bit of flex to it. It's not too heavy. I see a lot of people use like just logs for bows. I mean, this is the thing you're gonna bow back and forth with. It takes a lot of energy. So the lighter this is, the better. I kind of like to grab like a branching piece just because it's got a curve to it already. So, you know, the shoots that grow straight aren't really ideal. A branching piece that's got a little bit of a already got some bow shape to it, I think is a little better. But as these trees grow, they put out branches. So these are called nodes. Nodes are difficult to carve through. So basically, if you were to make a spindle out of one of these sticks, it's got some curl to it, you want to be somewhere between the nodes. You don't want the node to be in your spindle anywhere. Now with a nice sharp knife, which mine is questionable at the moment, you can do this really quickly. And that's the whole idea with like this method of doing a bow drill is you want it to be fast. You don't want to be messing around while you're freezing to death trying to build a bow drill fire. Now I can tell by carving on this thing that this piece of wood is actually pretty wet. You can kind of tell touching it to your cheek. So I don't know, we'll see how it goes. And now I'm going to strip some bark off of this. Okay, so that's it. That's our spindle. We didn't spend 4 hours carving it. We just carved it in a couple minutes. So now it's onto the fireboard. So again, you want to cut between the nodes. Kind of carve around, snap it off. Again, see we have another node up here where the branches came off. All right, so now the idea with this is to turn it into a flat board. All right. And this is where a good sharp knife will save you tons of time, because you can really kind of flatten things out. And you want to get to about this thickness. So I would say this one's actually probably a little thinner than it needs to be. Like 3/4 of an inch or so. It saves you a lot of time. I don't know if you can see that from where you are, but see it's got like a propeller to it, a propeller twist. What I want to do is I want to eliminate that as best I can by taking this. You want it to be straight and flat. What I think it sounds like a cool challenge is to try to do this in 5 minutes or less. I'm going to make this my flat side. Again, you don't have to go all the way down. You just want to make like one whole edge nice and flat. And if you have a little rounded edge on the bottom there, that's actually a good thing. And mark a spot. And then just take the knife and just give it like a really light starting point. All right, so this thing is pretty much ready to go. Now, I'm going to take just a touch of our pitch from earlier. You want to step on your fireboard, and then with your left arm, now I'm a righty, so reverse all this if you're a lefty. You want to wrap this arm around the tip of your knee and kind of hold everything in place. All right, and then the idea is, remember we haven't cut our notch yet, we just kind of want to burn this thing in. And this is the point where we're going to find out if the moisture content on this wood is too much. And you can see we're getting some smoke, which is good. Now this is why I like a nice long bow. And you shouldn't be out of breath when you're doing this. You should be like, all right, so now we're going to carve our notch. And the idea with the notch is you don't want to go all the way to the center of the hole. You want to go about 2/3 of the way there. From the top down. The danger here is if you go too deep, you're going to have a problem with your spindle as you're bowing trying to follow the notch down rather than burning through the board. And if you go too shallow, you're going to have a problem not having a place to put your coal. Okay. So see how it looks like Pac-Man now? Dun, 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 dun. So that's kind of what you want. And then on the bottom side, I like to carve it back just a hair. They taught us this up at Roots School. because what happens is when you're done bowing and you have a nice coal there, you're going to lift this away like this. And you don't want to have it taper, because then the coal will go with the fireboard rather than staying on your coal carrier. Take some of this cedar and just like pulverize it, twist it, grind it, make it like as much surface area as possible in there. All right, and then you kind of want to make a hole in it, like a place to drop that coal. You can kind of see, if you get a close-up of that, this is our hole. So this piece is going to go back and forth in here as we operate the bow. It's going to fill this notch with sawdust. And you kind of want to just jog along at first, fill the notch with sawdust, and then you really want to, kind of give it some power to kind of ignite that coal. And just because this tile is so cold, I'm just going to try to insulate our coal from the cold as much as you can. So if you're out in the snow or something, you'd want to do the same thing. So I've got my two handholds here. For this one, I'm going to use my rock, which is my favorite. I put a little bit of pitch from the pitch we gathered this morning in the hole here. Just going to kind of give it a mush. All right, so basically I have the bow. All right, I'm going to wrap the bow around the spindle. Okay, so if you're right-handed, you're going to bow with your right hand. You're going to support the spindle with your left hand, basically like that. You can lean forward a little bit and back to kind of adjust the position of the spindle. You can put some more force on it. For some reason, I like to keep a couple fingers hanging down to kind of, touch the spindle. Some of the sketchier things like this rock, it actually does help a little bit keep the spindle in place. All right. And we're just going to go nice and slow first. Make sure we fill that notch with dust. I'm going to give it a little more speed. All right. Let it breathe for a second. All right, that looks like a nice coal. Now this is the part where for years and years and years I would just freak out because I was so nervous about losing the coal. And what I was taught, when I was going to school up in Vermont at the Roots School, is you just want to chill. Just don't freak out too much. Just let it breathe for a little bit. You can kind of see that coal's getting stronger and stronger and stronger. So now, in our tinder bundle, we made a nice little hole. I'm going to take our coal and put it in the tinder bundle, and then kind of wrap all the tinder around it. And then you can start to blow really gently. You don't want to blow right at it because the moisture in your breath you can actually put the coal out. I'm going to try to get closer. I don't know if this is going to work or not, but there we go. Fire. All right. Our tinder bundle's on fire. If you had a nice TP ready to go, you could put that in there. Hope you enjoyed the video we just did on making fire, and I hope you can join us this Thursday. I know the date now. It is February 21st, and that's at Ocean State Harley-Davidson in Warwick, Rhode Island, 35 Albany Road. The Friction Fire Seminar starts at 6 o'clock, and yeah, if you can make it, that would be great. We'd love to have you. Again, it's part of our survival series. We've been doing this for several years now. It's always a lot of fun, and yeah, I think it should be a really interesting class. I don't know if you can see down here, I've made a bunch of kits, figured out the right way to turn the camera. So I made some starter kits, and I have a bunch of bow material outside. So it should be a lot of fun, and we really enjoyed having you there. So thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you Thursday night. I'm gonna try the guy, so the Harley tech guy does these really cool transitions. When he goes out, he kind of goes like, oh, it didn't work.